Here is the initial review of my brand new specialized Aethos comp. I purchased a 61cm Aethos about 6 weeks ago from our local specialized retailer, Bike Society, here in Adelaide, Australia. After my most recent ride through the hills near where I live, as I wheeled the Aethos back into the house, my wife asked me, "How did your ride go?" I remember simply saying, "I love this bike." Here is my first impressions review of this lightweight, stiff, and aesthetically classic bike. I've taken the Aethos out for both some solo hills rides and some group rides on flat terrain. On the climbs and descents is where this bike really shines. As a 6'4", 87kg rider, I'm not your typical climbing specialist. However, riding uphill is what I love the most because I'm relatively proficient. I'm blessed to have some beautiful steady climbs starting minutes from where I live. And pointing the Aethos up a 5, 6 or even 8 degree gradient is an absolute delight due to its low weight. In my comp spec, the 56cm version of this frame weighs in at 699 grams only. Similar to my 8-year-old Trek Emonda, it just feels so effortless pushing this lightweight wonder up a gradual climb. Getting out of the saddle to prod the accelerator is immediately rewarded with instant response. This bike has a supremely stiff frame due to its cylindrical tube profiles, its high seat stay connection, and specialized 10R carbon layup. So the power transfer from each pedal stroke is extremely satisfying. Now, being the masochist that I am, I've also taken the Aethos up many of the local really steep power climbs. On the Aethos, up any steep climb, the full effort of every pedal stroke is transferred into forward and upward propulsion. There is no energy wastage, no frame flex, just joyful transmission of concentric muscle contraction into rolling progress. Like an invisible alien tractor beam dragging me up to the crest. Atop the Aethos, the energy transfer from man to machine feels pure and complete. What goes up must come down, and thankfully so. At my height, I can hardly claim to be a corner carver. My centre of gravity on the bike is chest high for most other riders. However, when dropping into some of the local descents on this Aethos, it feels extremely planted, sure-footed and agile. When leaning into a downhill corner, this bike handles exceptionally well, holding a tight radius with ease. Again, the frame stiffness comes to the fore, providing a solid platform to shift your weight across rather than any noodly flex. This gives great confidence and certainty in choosing a more aggressive line through any apex. This bike descends through corners sharply and predictably. As the descent flattens into a level runoff, I get a wide smile spreading across my face. So, what about on the flat? Well, this bike has a frame which nods to tradition with deliberately exposed brake cables, round tubing profiles, and distinctly separate bar and stem. While this is a delightful situation for bike fitting, it is clearly not optimized for aerodynamics. That said, I think the frame's stiffness and its light weight goes a long way to make up for these aero shortcomings. This bike is so responsive when adding a few extra watts on a flat ride. Perhaps the only weakness that I can identify on this bike is how it goes on a flat, steady state effort. But to be honest, I feel just as comfortable on the Aethos on a 90-minute group training flat ride as I do on my specialized Tarmac SL7, which is clearly designed as a race bike. I'm yet to do a really long effort on my Aethos, and I think to date my longest ride is probably around 80 kilometers. On these 2 to 3 hour outings so far, I felt very comfortable on all of these rides, and I'm very confident that a 4 or 5 hour session would be no drama at all. The high seat stay connection supposedly robs the seat tube of a little compliance, but it's never come to mind as a problem for me. As I've pointed out in many previous videos, I'm moving to shorter cranks, 160mm to be precise, and this requires me to lift my saddle 15mm from where they would be with the stock 175mm cranks that came with this bike. If you think I'm pulling your leg, check out this video. So the Aethos has a 10mm higher stack than the equivalent Tarmac, And this means that I can lift my handlebars up to a suitable height to match the higher saddle. Yes, it is not the most aero position, but I am not here pretending to be aero. Overall, I am thrilled with my Aethos. I love the fact that it is different, a modern classic with throwback elements that still feels contemporary. I love the stealth design with minimal badging that leaves people asking what it is. Even though it is a road bike from one of the biggest bike companies in the world, when I tell people it's a specialised Aethos, many people have still not heard of it. I guess it's destined never to appear in the pro peloton, so it's likely to always be a little bit under the radar. When I bought the bike, the only unit of its size in Australia, I was a little unsure about the colour, but it's definitely grown on me. Whether you think it is light purple, or lavender, or grey, or you're happy with the official colourway name of gloss, clay, pearl, it definitely stands out amongst the matte black, gloss black, light black, and dark black bikes that seem to be most prevalent these days. If you want something out of the ordinary, that is hard to categorise, defies pigeonholing, that looks like a real bike, that is happiest either going up or down, then this just might be a surprise contender for you. I love mine.